This week on Previews World Weekly, comics will break your heart. Or will they? And we talk about Wizard Magazine and your unpopular comic book opinions. It's all happening right now on Previews World Weekly.
What's up, Previews World? It's Wednesday. It's New Comic Book Day, which means it's time for Previews World Weekly. I'm one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen.
I'm your other host, Ashton Greenwood, a.k.a. the Duchess of Free Comic Book Day, Halloween Comic Fest, and every event where we give you free comics, apparently.
There you go. I mean, it's good to be the Duchess. I think so.
I'm into it.
And we got a special guest this week. Everybody say hello to Eli Schwab of Cosmic Lion Comics.
How's it going?
Hi, Eli and Kat.
Good to see you.
Was that staged, or did the cat just enter the screen?
Oh, he knows. He always knows where his camera
is. So Eli, you definitely handle Cosmic Lion Comics, right? And you've released this book, which you're proudly wearing on your chest, right? Wizard, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, I like that chrome cover. There you go.
Ooh, yeah.
I love all the 90s-ness of it, which is super appropriate, right?
Absolutely, man.
What can you tell us about Wizard? Like, first of all, like, what's this relation to, like, the guide to comics, but also why did this project come about?
Well, I'm just a fan of groups, like getting in on groups on Facebook, and I'm a guy that just like loves the things that I love so much. So I'm always trying to like make something out of it. And there's nothing I love more than comics. And so, originally the first thing I did was I made a book about the band Ween. I did a Ween zine.
Oh,
and
really?
So, yeah, there it is. I got Jim Mahfood actually.
I was about to say, is that Mahfood?
Cover. Yeah, dude. He's a big Ween fan. And so I just got a bunch of people together to do art and comics about Ween. And then I joined a Turtle zine, and I did a Ninja Turtles one. And then when I joined the Cartoonist Kayfabe group, I was just like, everyone in this group is so incredibly talented and awesome. And Cartoonist Kayfabe started kind of with their Wizard coverage. And so I was like, let's just make our own issue of Wizard. We can do it.
Right.
That was it, man. It was just like, and then I put out the call, and then it was just like, people came pouring in, comics and interviews. And, then I reached out to people who I thought would be super interesting, like Diana Schutz and Han Allred, who was putting out his Space movie, and just like so much cool stuff.
Awesome. It's not as cool as yours, but I definitely have my copy over here, right?
Nice. Now maybe that's the first print. So
yeah, I think it is actually. So I'm definitely excited about this. But like, first of all, I think some people, if they remember, are if you're a fan of the show, you might know that I love Jackie Chan. And when I saw this 2-page spread from Super Cop and Operation Condor, I was like, well, this is where I need to be. This is the book that I should be reading right now.
Shout out to the Chanzine there.
The Chanzine. Oh yeah, absolutely. I need to get in on that. That's what I'm talking about.
Hugh.
Okay, all right.
He's the guy that puts it together.
Okay, I'm gonna hunt him down. I'm gonna be sure to jump all over that. But what else can people find inside Wizard, the comics magazine? Like, what else can people?
Oh my God! Well,
expect?
Of course, interviews with Jim Rugg and Ed Peace were the main dudes from Wizard. The kayfabe effect is one thing they always talk about, which is like these big books that they spotlight, like Big Numbers, Faust. They love Faust, New York Outlaws, Dragon Chiang. That was a big book that they turned me on to. That like I love. There's like all these Grateful Dead and Frank Zappa references, and like I love that music. And then I just reached out to Tim Truman. He was like, "Sure, I'll interview you." And so like I talked to him. I couldn't help but talk to him about the Dead a bunch, and like. Then Tony McMillan interviews like people riffing on the old Wizard magazine, which was like one of the first things I did was like I took an issue of Wizard and I kind of broke it down page by page, and I threw that outline up on the group, and then so people were like signing up and then riffing off that.
Yeah.
Like we even got a Kit Bash figures section like they used to have. Bernie Moreau, one of my favorite artists, he did a piece, and he did a whole brand new piece for Wizard issue 2 that's coming up.
All right.
Just, there's just so many amazing artists that I wanted to interview, and we even have a price guide of all the indie books that like Kayfabers put together.
Yeah, I love that too. Like, I mean, it's super official. Like, this is very much like Wizard, but for the indie scene, and I absolutely love that about it.
Exactly.
Jessica Smith jumping in and said, "You're amazing, Eli."
Hey,
how about that?
I work with Jessica. What's up? I took off
Absolutely.
work to be here.
Oh, okay. I hope you didn't. I hope you didn't give her a false excuse because she just found out you were doing a
Gotcha.
stream.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
So, what role do you play in the community? Are you I've never realized this, but I'm not even sure I asked you this before. Are you an admin or are you just a participant like I am?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually it's a crazy story because
Mhm,
literally the day I wrote to Jim and Ed to be like, yo, we got to start a group because
mhm,
like the Ween group was so great.
mhm,
I was like, we got to start a group for this. And he's like, this lady just reached out to us today to do
mhm,
it. So reach out to Sasha and
mhm,
talk to her. And then I reached out to Sasha and she was basically like, yeah, I just set it up, but I'm not super interested in like dealing with it every single day. And I
mhm.
was like, dude, I will. I'm so down. And like I just, I'm so into it now that I've met these amazing people and
Mhm,
we hang out and we like Zoom at night and
mhm.
we hang out and help each other creatively and there's this like amazing give
Mhm.
and take there. Now, it's one of the most amazing communities I've ever been a part of online.
No, it's about it embodies the joy of comics, right?
So
And
much
I
so.
mean, I feel like we need more of that. Ash and I have talked about that a lot on this
Yeah.
show, right? Like, people love to get into the misery business when it comes to comics, and it's just sort of like, it's supposed to be fun. Like, this is supposed to be the
Right.
happy place, guys.
Yeah, I agree with
Actually,
that.
speaking of which,
Oh boy.
Eli, Ashton. I don't know if you've seen. I don't know. We didn't really talk about this, Ashton. I know Eli and I talked about this. Have you seen the comics? I've been seeing these ads lately on Facebook for this. For these comics will break your heart, like T-shirts.
Yeah, I've seen them around.
Right. Okay. I saw them for the first time this past week, so I don't know how long they've actually been around. But I got to be honest with you guys. I am not a fan of this. I am absolutely not. Just based off of what we just said, it's like, what are we promoting here? Like, Eli, you actually have a little bit of background about the story. I know the story, but
Mhm.
for the people at home who don't know where this quote comes from, can you give them a little bit of enlightenment?
Yeah, it seems that it comes from Jack Kirby. Kirby,
Hmm.
obviously the king of comics.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, we see him now as the king of comics and this amazing artist who created like the best work of all time. But we didn't know the struggles that he was going through
Right.
in
Yeah.
comics, like
Hmm.
losing his original art, not getting paid, not seeing any residuals from these creations. And so I think that's what he was speaking on when he was giving advice to this kid at a Comic-Con. And he was like, comics will break your heart, kid. And
Hmm.
it's like, in his experience at that time, it
Right.
was like not the huge thing it is now. They were
Hmm.
not the MCU that, so it's like at that point Kirby was speaking like comics will break your heart, kid.
Yeah, but
So
also
it's like,
it wasn't like, there was no Image Comics, you know what I mean? There was no founding
Mhm.
of big names coming together to create independent like books and like branching out and creating like, basically like uh creating a big third out of the instead of a
Mhm.
big two, you know what I mean? So
definitely.
yeah,
And it's like what
mhm,
Kevin Eastman and those guys were
yeah,
reacting to when they
mhm,
created the
Mhm.
Comic Creators Bill of Rights. And
right,
so
that's
that was
right,
like
yeah.
immediately after Kirby's like, terrible experiences.
Right,
Mhm.
right. And I mean, I don't want to downplay Kirby's experience at all, right? But like at the same time, I just look, I went, I think you and I are about the same age. Like was a comic book hipster, right? I worked in a comic shop in my 20s in the early 2000s. Like, I went to the Small Press Expo and like, I kind of feel like the comic book hipsters love to just like latch on to this one thing that Kirby said once and like kind of like turned it into a battle cry. And like I'm saying this as a former comic book hipster, right? Guys, let it go. Like seriously, just let it go. Like have fun with this for God's sakes. Anyway, Ashton, I didn't ask you this
Mhm.
before. Oh, hey, Gene Green, my buddy Gene Green. Eli's
What up, Dean
definitely the
Green?
kayfabe goat. Yes, he is. Eli's got it.
Yeah.
Rich Johnson, uh-oh.
Oh boy.
Comics will break your heart is experience shared by many creators even today. And I agree
I
with you,
mean, I
Rich.
can understand that.
I understand that, Rich. But you know what? Sometimes it's about your outlook. How about that? Ashton,
Mhm.
we just kind of dovetailed into things we saw this week, and you haven't said much so far. So what did you see this week? Did you see anything this week? Were you just walking around blindfolded all week?
Do you know what? I was out of town this weekend and I didn't really have my phone with me, so I
Oh,
didn't
lucky you.
see much of anything, truthfully.
Okay, that's fair. That's all right. That's okay. No
Scenic
Avatar
rural
news.
Pennsylvania is all that I saw.
Phoenix World, Pennsylvania.
No, scenic rural
Oh,
Pennsylvania,
okay. I was
like
like,
middle of nowhere, PA.
okay, all right. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, is that some amusement park? What is going on
That
here?
was awesome.
Phoenix World. Okay, well, I can
Phoenix
tell you some
World.
Phoenix World. I can tell you a little bit more about some of the cool things I saw. However, like we got some Inktober submissions this past week, and I'm asking you a little bit more about Kayfabe-tober in a second, Eli. But I do want to remind people that we are participating in
Oh
Inktober.
wow.
This is the Previews World prompt for Inktober. Everybody's doing their own thing, right? Like, I mean, that's kind of the fun thing about this is it's like become a community exercise across the comics world, right? And of course the art
Yeah.
world. And so we got some really cool stuff from guys like Anthony V, who's submitted before. I love that. What else we got, Johnny? I think this is Psycho, right? Isn't this
Yeah.
yeah, Janet Lee? Right, yeah. I love that. It's also Anthony V as well. And what else we got? Do we have any more there? No? Okay. But like, yeah, I just think those are really cool. And I love when people submit that stuff. So if you are participating in Inktober, go into Previews World, check out our feed, check out our prompt, and participate because it's a fun thing to do. And we'll definitely highlight on the show like we just did. So
Ooh.
actually, now I want to talk about Kayfabe-tober, right? Now, can you talk about Kayfabe-tober? Was this your idea? Where did this come from?
Well, Kayfabe-tober is another idea that came up in the group. I think the dude's name is Christopher Williams. Sorry, dude, if I got it wrong. He just mentioned something in a post like, dudes, like, what are we doing for Inktober? Someone's got to make a list. And I commented and I was like, oh my God, yes, dude, let's do it. And so then me and him kind of like brainstormed and I just kind of went back through the cartoonist kayfabe videos and just kind of pulled out all these topics and then just created the list. I kind of tried to spin them around and just get something cool. And it's been really fun, especially the days that are focused on like living creators, like having an Ed Peace Corps day, having a Jim Mahfood day, having a Jim Rugg day. Like those guys simply loved it. And like, it's gotta feel really cool to, become the comic or become the art and see people, drawing you, Jim Rugg, or you, Jim Mahfood, in these inside these kind of like worlds that you've created. So
No, absolutely.
that's been amazing. I've had an amazing time doing it. I don't always get to draw every single day like I want to, but I've had an amazing time. And part of what you can get from our list, having it be based off creators, is learning something about that creator's design aesthetic. And so like the Mobius day, obviously Mobius is one of my all-time faves.
Oh,
You can
yeah.
see
Oh,
it.
yeah.
And I've got the
that
surfer
parable up
tattooed
there
on my arm.
Oh, nice. I
But
love it.
his hatching and his little teeny details, these little curved lines he does, that's like such a
Yeah.
small move, but it's like an epic look
Mhm.
that he creates. And so just pulling something from each of these artists' design aesthetic is like something that's really helped me and something that like teaches me every single day along this list.
No, absolutely. No, I love it. So yeah, guys, you can also check out Kayfabe-tober. Is it only in the group that you guys are putting out the prompt, or is it like
No, it's all across all the socials, just
Okay.
hashtag Kayfabe-tober.
Kayfabe-tober, sorry. Except
Kayfabe-tober. Yeah, you can see it on Instagram and Twitter and stuff. Instagram's really where it's popping off. If I may use the parlance of our time.
I think that's acceptable. I think we'll allow it. Ashton, do we allow it? Are
I
we gonna
think
allow
just
it?
this one time. Just this one time.
Okay, yeah. Ashton's the Russian judge, so we gotta put everything across from her first. All right. How about some what's at comic shops? How about that, guys?
Definitely.
We're gonna take Ashton's gonna give us a pick. Eli's gonna give us a pick, and I'm gonna give you guys a pick this week. So here we are. What's at comic shops? So Ashton, we were definitely having like a 90s geek down, like for the first quarter of the show. So I'm gonna let you go first.
Okay.
I'm gonna let you go first. So go for it. What is your pick
tiny
this
little
week?
baby person in the 90s. I had nothing to contribute. My pick this week is Dune: House of Atreides, of course, obviously. This is from Boom Studios. It's not the first time I've talked about this specific book on here, but it is finally out this week. So this functions basically as your prequel to Herbert's, seminal piece, Dune. So this sets up kind of everybody's prequel story to that. If this issue in particular focuses on Pardo Kynes, Emperor Shaddam, Duncan Idaho, and Leto Atreides. So just to kind of like break it down really quick and not to get long-winded, because I would if you'd let me. So it focuses kind of like, so each of their individual journeys, like Pardo arrives on Arrakis. He's seeking their secrets because, you know, in Dune that there are pieces of Arrakis where there are these kinds of like oases, so to speak, where it's very green and lush. And so Pardo is kind of the person that sets that up. And so this is his, you know, initial step into that journey of making Arrakis viable beyond spice mining. Emperor Shaddam, who is the emperor in Dune, sets up his coup to overthrow his father in this prequel series. Duncan Idaho starts as a slave, and actually so does Gurney. So it'll be interesting to see where he fits in here. So focusing on Duncan getting out of the slave trade, and then Leto starts his journey as kind of the ruler of House Atreides. And it's interesting because this kind of starts as like it's their journeys, and they set up what would ultimately become like the next generation's problem. And it's interesting because I always feel like Star Wars takes so much from Dune, and it's like it's interesting in that like Anakin is kind of, you know, comparable to Leto in the same way Luke is comparable to Paul, and they take on these things that their fathers kind of like put in motion.
No, actually, I love that. Actually, no, actually, you just mentioned Mobius earlier, and it actually made me think a little bit about humanoids. Ashton, you know what you should watch? Watch Jodorowsky's Dune.
Okay.
Watch the documentary about Alejandro Jodorowsky. And Eli's like, yeah, watch that. It's really interesting because you just made a connection, and that I think a lot of people have not made, which is that the relationship between, particularly Alejandro Jodorowsky's designs for the Dune movie and all the other sci-fi stuff that came afterwards. So yeah, definitely check that out. I think you would actually get a kick out of that. What about you, Eli? What do you have this week? What are you picking?
Well, I got to go with the book that's been on my pull list for 25 years, and that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first book that was ever on my pull list. Turtles right now as a comic is better than it's ever been, honestly. Sophie Campbell's writing it, and Jodi Nishihime is the artist right now. She's kind of filling in as Sophie does some other books, but Sophie's still writing. And it's just, they've completely blown the world up. And it's similar to Volume 4 of Ninja Turtles, where the turtles are able to live above ground now. There's a mutant bomb that went off, and so now there's like Mutant Town, and there's all these incredible, you know, mutants and animals, and it's just, you know, the turtles are like getting all, you know, pumped out and going to like rock clubs and like hanging out and drinking, and like it is such a cool new way to see. And now like this new issue, there's like mutant bikers that are coming in, and this like octopus dude that they're battling. It's just like, it's wild. I just love where it's at. It's like real, you know, it's not like they're fighting the Technodrome in Dimension X and all this stuff. It's like real mutant, you know, what they would be doing. They have like
super practical. Yeah,
dude. They have like a place where they're taking care of all these kids that are these, you know, mutants. Oh man, it's so cool. I'm just loving where it's at.
No, yeah, I'm actually, we have an interview next week on PREVIEWSworld.com with Tom Waltz, and he's going to talk more about The Last Ronin specifically. But I just love how one of the questions I asked him was, you know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is kind of like really malleable. Like it can kind of like go the distance in any type of direction. So I really love like what they're currently doing in the TMNT ongoing right now. My pick this week is a book. You know what? I was like, I'm going to pick X-Men. I was like, no, don't pick X-Men. I was going to pick Scumbag.
You know you want to.
I was going to pick Scumbag because, you know, I'm a big Rick Remender fan. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get a chance to talk about Scumbag later in the week. Find something else, Troy. So I did. I picked up
X-Men.
No, I found Ten of Swords. No, I'm just kidding. I decided to go ahead and pick up Angela Della Morte. The trade paperback, Volume 1 is coming out this week. It's from Red 5 Comics. And here's the deal. It's from this guy named Salvador Sans. First of all, the artwork looks great. And this is one of those books where, yes, the artwork on the cover is the artwork on the inside, which you know is a pet peeve of mine, Ashton. So
right.
So the idea here is like basically the scientists are separating souls from bodies, right? And Angela goes into dead bodies for undercover missions. And like we were joking earlier about this one particular word here, which is she must elude a tenebrous life form, which is actually that life form is actually death. So There you go. Like, I just think that's actually a really cool concept. The artwork looks cool. It's an indie book, so I definitely want to give it a shot. And
Yeah.
I get to read the entire series in one sitting. And on top of that, there's a new series currently from Red 5. So definitely check it out. And that is Angela Delamorte. So let's look at some big ticket items real quick. Here we go. First of all, Madam Satan #1. It's a one shot. The artwork again. Oh my God, Eli! If you get a chance, look at some of the artwork for this book. It is phenomenal. Like this is a spinoff from the Sabrina the Teenage Witch series. And yeah, they're focusing on the villain of that series. And yeah, the artwork, I just can't say enough about it. Like we got some, we had one of the Archie guys on a couple of weeks ago, and he gave us like he gave us a little sneak peek, or we gave a bunch of people, we gave everybody a sneak peek of the of some of the process art for this book. And like, yeah, it's just, it alone is worth picking up. So definitely check that out. What else we got this week? Phantom of the Opera. This is an original graphic novel from A Wave Blue World. We actually did an interview with the creator on this, and that's on PREVIEWSworld.com right now. If you go to the front page, you will definitely see it. And yeah, it's not necessarily a modernization, but it's definitely a retelling of the classic Phantom of the Opera. And I'll be honest with you guys, I don't know anything about the Phantom of the Opera. So I actually might give this a shot, because why not? You know, it's in the format I love the most. I might check it out. What else we got? Venom #29. And, you know, we are rolling forward to The King in Black. And like, if you're not on board at this point, guys, you need to do some serious homework. Like, get on board. This is Donny Cates. He's rocking and rolling. He's doing the type of things with Venom that they should have, in my personal opinion, because I've been a Venom hater for a long time. Like, he's doing things with Venom that they should have done like months ago, like years ago. Like, this is the type of stuff that makes him an interesting character to me, and clearly to a lot of people, because Venom was the #1 book last month. What else we got? Stillwater #2. This is actually Chip Zdarsky's new series from Image Comics, so definitely check that out. I know a lot of people, including myself, are big Chip Zdarsky fans, and this is an indie book. He's been doing a lot of Marvel stuff lately, so definitely just get used to his independent voice. How about that? Something is Killing the Children, James Tynion. Again, like a great horror book, a great indie book, and this is coming out from Boom Studios. #11 is dropping this week. Definitely check that out. X-Men #13. Look, I'm going to say it. I'm a big fan of what's going on in the X-Men books right now. And I didn't even think I was going to like Ten of Swords. And then I read the first book, Creation, and I had to know what else was going to happen. So I did the thing that I said I would never do. I started picking up all the tie-in books. And you know what? I'm enjoying it. It's actually fun. It's a good tie-in. It's a good crossover. So I'm just saying, give it a chance. See if you can get into it too. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Song of Glory #1. Of course, Dark Horse Comics is rolling deep with the Assassin's Creed series, and now we're getting something a little bit more Nordic this time. It seems like the Assassin's Creed story it deliberately jumps around around history, and this time, yeah, it looks like we're getting something a little Scandinavian. It looks like maybe Vikings. Not quite sure. Interesting. What else we got here? Stranger Things Halloween special, one shot. Look, it's Halloween's right around the corner, and of course there should be a Stranger Things comic to celebrate. And I've said this before. Stranger Things, a TV show, who knows when it's coming back? Everybody's everybody's on COVID watch, so maybe there'll be another season soon, maybe there won't be, but definitely check out the one shot this week, because you might be missing some Stranger Things right now. What else we got? King Tank Girl #1. Eli, I'm gonna actually let you talk about this, because first of all, I want to point out this is from Albatross Funny Books, so this is Eric Powell's crew, and on top of that, the book used to be from Titan, but this is a new #1, and it's King Tank Girl, which of course it sounds like a spin on, and actually looks like a spin on King Conan. But I understand you're kind of excited for this, right?
I mean, I read everything Tank Girl. I love Jamie Hewlett, and frankly, I love Brett Parson, the artist who's doing it now, who did some work on the Goon. So that may be why that they picked it up. His work is beautiful. You need to follow him, Blitz Cadet, on everything. He also did some work for the Weenzine with me, and just everything Tank Girl is beautiful to me. I honestly, I don't know about this story. You said King Conan. I was about to say King Ralph. It looks like the cover. Remember that?
Actually, you know what? Yes, it also looks like King Ralph as well. You're absolutely right about that.
But just everything Tank Girl, just like the mad cap, like wild explosion. I just love everything about Tank Girl. I'll read every single thing they do.
Yeah, I got into Tank Girl like because of the gorillas, and because I became a fan of Jamie
Yeah.
Hewlett's outwork. So like, yeah, I'm definitely in the same boat as you as well.
Yeah.
And that's what else we got. Ashton, this is for you. I'm actually curious about this myself. You know, one of my favorite Star Wars books of the last few years. Actually, my favorite Star Wars book of the last few years was the Mark Waid Princess Leia one shot, and it looks like we're getting a book about Leia called Leia Princess of Alderaan, which is an original graphic novel and kind of a manga on top of that because it's coming from Yen Press. And we always joke on here all the time, like, hey, like the Alderaan got blown up and like nothing really came of that. Like it just got destroyed by Darth Vader. And you know, fortunately, we got that Mark Waid story where he goes back and like she goes back and kind of like tries to cement the cultural identity of Alderaan. But I'm always more interested in this because I think it's a big gaping plot hole in the original Star Wars that could definitely benefit from being fleshed out. So I'm actually curious what this new book is going to be about. Who else we got? Okay, Rich Johnston. All right, King
Right.
Tinker, also written by Alan Martin, the character's co-creator, right? Yeah, absolutely, yes,
Right.
it is.
Who also
Absolutely.
keeps the Tank Girl website super active, and you can pick up
Nice.
a bunch of really cool mini comics and stuff.
Nice, nice, nice. What else we got here? Last thing. Yes, the big thing. I love this. This is a big one for me. I'm a big Rick Remender fan. We're going to be talking to him on Friday. He's got a new series called The Scumbag, and it is about the most unlikely of heroes. And a matter of fact, we have a trailer for you guys right now. So how about you check out this trailer for Scumbag, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about it. Go for it. All right, and that is The Scumbag that is coming from Image Comics that is in shops today. And I got to tell you guys, yes, we're interviewing Rick Remender on Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, and he's going to talk a little bit about Scumbag, well, a lot about Scumbag, but we're also going to ask him a bunch of questions about some of his previous work. Like, you know, I got into Rick Remender because of Uncanny X-Force. My buddy at the comic book shop was like, you got to read X-Force, you got to read X-Force. Like, I'm done with X-Men, I hate them. They betrayed me for the last time. I'm never reading X-Men again. And then I read Uncanny X-Force, and it is like, it's literally the best X-Men book in a long time. And so definitely check that out. Remender, of course, has also done a bunch of other stuff like Tokyo Goes. He's done Deadly Class, which I'm also a huge fan of. And also I know Johnny Rhodes, our production manager, is also a huge fan of it as well. So definitely check out the interview, and we're going to ask him some questions about those books in addition to The Scumbag this Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And all you have to do is go to YouTube or our Facebook and check it out, and then jump in the live chat. All right. Is Ashton back? Ashton made it back. There you go, Ashton. You okay? Uh-oh, you're muted.
Panic.
Can't hear you. Okay, there you go. Everything all right?
Yes, we're good.
Okay,
We're
good. All right, good. Got a little scared there for a second. I was like, oh, what's going on?
You and me both.
All right. So, Ashton, I'm going to fork it over to you so you can take over this week's Social Swamp because I think this one's going to be a doozy. You ready?
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
All right, Social Swamp time.
Okay, so I'm super excited about this week's question. I feel like this question was made for me. Sorry about my camera. We asked you guys to tell us what is your unpopular comic book opinion, your hottest take, something that you feel for a fact you're the only person that feels that way. And we're all going to yell into the void together.
Yes. Which is ripe for this show. So let's do it.
All right, so here's what you guys said. Harley said Thanos was better written in the late 90s, early 2000s as a true neutral, let the character evolve. Cliff says Superior was the last cool thing that happened to Spider-Man. Oh, God.
Ooh. Oh, you know, I got to be honest. I think the last time I read Spider-Man for like a full arc was actually Superior, so I might have to co-sign that one.
Ooh. All right, Jason says, Tom King had an excellent Batman run. His work was the perfect complement to Snyder's loud take. Sean said, Neil Gaiman's Sandman is massively overrated and held up in adoration by pretentious comic book snobs. Oh my God.
You are the only one on that.
That's so aggressive.
Yeah, I've read all of like one trade of Sandman, and even I was and it wasn't because it was bad. Like I just got distracted, but like I remember reading the first trade and being like, "Damn it, this is good." I didn't want it to be good.
Oh.
That Sam Keith art, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mike says, everything Grant Morrison has written since New X-Men has been hot garbage. That was his peak.
Boo, Mike, get out of here. Boo, Mike. What is the last thing? Mike, he made All-Star Superman after that. Get out of here, Mike. What is wrong with you?
The hottest take. Comic Max says, OMG, here it comes. I did not like Saga. Probably I must try once again because I tried it many times. Okay, now please be gentle with me. Oh.
That's another one that I kind of picked up and then kind of put down. And it wasn't because it was bad. Like I think I can recognize when something's good, but maybe not necessarily something that's going to keep me reading every month. So I don't know. That was just me. So you're not alone on Comics Moss. You're not alone. So Eli, since you're our special guest, and because I want to give Ashton room here to go off, you want to kick off our conversation of your hot take, your the one thing that you have to say that you feel like no one agrees with you, but you believe is so true.
Well, I think this is the hottest take since I took my coffee off the coffee machine this morning, and that's that I don't think story matters. It's the art that matters. It's the art that makes it the comic. This is like what Image started.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe me, then you might get burned because this take is scorching.
Oh, okay.
That's just me, man. I just love the art. Like for me, it's what cements the whole thing down. You know, like even if the story is gripping and the art is like not for me, then I'm gonna be like, I checked out.
Okay.
That's just me.
All right. No, I mean that. Look, I know there's a lot of people that feel that way. I know there's a lot of people in the group that feel that way, actually. So yeah. All right. It's a hot take.
It is a hot take. Damn.
I do like story. That's not to say that I don't appreciate a good story. I obviously do.
Yeah. No, I got you. Well, I mean, we've talked about this before. Like, I think, artwork sells a comic. Like that's probably the lesson from the 90s that we need to actually maintain and hold on to, is that art is the thing that first thing that people you should be able to judge a comic book by its cover. You know what I mean? Like, and so I mean, I can understand why people feel that way, and it is an art form, which means that people come to it for different reasons. So why not? All right, Ashton. What's this hot take? I feel like you wound up something. You got something nice and wound up.
I feel like, well, that was a very abbreviated hot take from Eli, and I'm not going to do that. Okay, so my hot take is Avatar related. So probably the most beloved of the Avatar sequel graphic novels, the sequel trilogy, whatever you want to call it, is the one called The Search, which is where they all kind of band together to go find Zuko's mom because she's kind of absent in the series, and it ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. Zuko goes into Ozai's cell after Aang defeats him, asks him where his mother is, and then it cuts away before you ever get an answer. So fast forward, they explore this in the graphic novel called The Search. I don't think that's necessary at all. Like, it's great the way they did it. I'm going to negate myself a bit here in saying that, like, the explanation they give as to what happens to Zuko's mom is brilliant. It makes perfect sense within the world. It's really well done. It does a lot more character building on Zuko and also Azula, but it's just not necessary. I don't think it is. I think that, like, certain cliffhangers are just there. Like, think of, like, the end of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Like, it ends on the ultimate cliffhanger, and it creates, like, such a great conversation about did they, didn't they? And I think that was really effective the way they did it with Zuko's mom at the end of the series. You don't need to unpack it. Let it go. Like, did Ozai kill her? Did he banish her? Like, is she in prison? It doesn't really matter where she is. I think that's part of the appeal. So it's like, you know, you don't need to take it the extra step every single time. You can just let it
No,
go, and it's okay.
no, no. I think that something can really be said for that. I think it was just last week we were talking about redemption arcs, right? And we talked about
Yeah,
how like the biggest, well, I wouldn't say it's the biggest swing and a miss, but it's definitely kind of like okay, was Anakin Skywalker, right? Like, I mean, it's
right.
just like, you know, maybe it would have been best to just kind of leave it at Return of the Jedi and then move on to something else. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like maybe we don't need to go back to the Skywalker family over and over again. And we're still not learning that lesson apparently, but don't get us started on that one.
Mm. Mm-mm. Be here all damn day.
All damn day. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm a big fan of, like, you know, sometimes you get those stories that end up in the air, which, you know, it sounds kind of silly, right? But like that's life. You know, sometimes you don't get
Right.
all the answers, you know, and that in itself is a lesson worth telling in a story. So
Hmm.
there you go. My hot take is a little, it's God, it's not fully formed. I will definitely say that,
Okay.
but it's it's something that kind of was brought up recently again because the showrunner of The Boys made a comment that I'll get to in a second.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like we're still suffering. This is my hot take. I feel like we're still suffering for Frederick Wortham's nonsense. I feel like the comic industry is still like under the thumb of scrutiny that Frederick Wortham started. And I feel like no other art form, no other medium gets the type uh, of bile thrown at it by
Hmm.
mainstream or popular culture the way that comics do a lot of times. And, you know, and I'm sure if I thought about that more, there's probably something worse. But at the same
Hmm.
time, you know, I just see it so consistently with comics, and like it makes me wonder. So I mean, like, of course, right, okay, Frederick Wortham, right, uh made a bunch of assumptions about the content of comic books in the late 50s. It was at the height of the Red Scare, and a lot of Frederick Wortham's talking points were women didn't behave like women. Homoeroticism was rampant throughout the comics, and it taught children how to be juvenile delinquents, right? That was the
Love
whole
that.
thing, right?
Hmm.
And so the comic book industry suffered for that for, I want to say, roughly about, well, I guess you could say technically 10 years, because then after about somewhere around the Marvel age, right? Some of these ideas got thrown away, but we didn't really stop dealing with Frederick Wortham's nonsense officially until they actually threw out the Comics Code Authority in the 2000s. Um, but I kind of feel that still there's this thing in the mainstream that's sort of like comic books are garbage. And I know like a lot of indie
Hmm.
people will kind of like take what I'm going to say next is like, well, he's talking about superheroes, not talking about comic books, but it affects you too. Because ultimately, in the mainstream and popular culture, when people think about comics, they think about superheroes. Is that fair? No. But at the same time, that's just how it is.
Hmm.
So I'm just going to say real quick, this is what he did. Like, he basically made this comment. The showrunner of The Boys made a comment about, his name's Eric Kripke, and he basically said that all superheroes are here to protect white patriotic America, and
Ooh.
that's what they were designed to do. Now, look, we talked
Mm.
about this a few weeks ago when we did the whole our superheroes fascist thing, right? And I think Eli might not have seen the episode, but Ash and I know where we stand on this, which is like, this is kind of nonsense, right?
Yeah.
And Alan Moore made a similar accusation just a week prior, which is why I'm still kind of hot on this. Um, but look, you know, anybody who's read a comic in the last, I want to say, God, like 20, 30, 40 years can tell you that, like, no, that's not the case. There are various nuances to how these
Mhm.
characters work, defeat crime, how they handle crime, and they are constantly evolving that. And it's never been so cut and dry. It hasn't been cut and dry, at least since the 60s,
Mhm.
I want to say.
Mhm.
And the fact that even from a guy who's doing a show based on a comic book, he still says that. You know what I mean? It's just like, come on, dude, really? And it just kind of has gotten me to the point where I'm starting to think, and again, it's not a fully formed idea, but it's a hot take, so it doesn't have to be. But I've gotten to the point where I'm starting to think, like, dude, like, are we still like in the muck of Frederick Wortham's like bias towards comics, that people still are just kind of have like this weird like disdain for the format? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's me. That's my hot take. and superheroes aren't fascists. That's what I'm here to say.
That's the wrap up.
So anyway, I don't know if you guys want to follow up on any of this or anything you guys said or anything like that. Eli, I like I said, I see your point. I don't think you're necessarily correct, but I see your point.
I think maybe coming from an artist's perspective myself.
Right. Yeah, of course.
I'm an artist. I'm also a writer, but it's just like for me, that's how it was. And I'm trying to be racy here. I'm trying to be hot here. Oh, those are fighting words from Dr. Ben Anthony. Hey now, he's an artist too.
When Ben Anthony said what? Those are fighting words. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, hey, you know what? Take it up in the cartoon. No, please don't go to the Cartoonist Kayfabe and Facebook.
Start yelling at people.
I think to your point, Troy, like some people like have a view of comics that's stuck in one place too.
Yeah.
It's like maybe Kripke doesn't read as much comics as we do and doesn't realize that these characters have grown far beyond these initial paths that were set out for him, and like even a character that is so like basic, like Superman. Sorry, Dad, my dad loves Superman, but he's like the most basic character,
Yeah.
But like even he has gone through stuff, thank you, Grant Morrison and these other great writers, but even Superman has grown beyond the point of just being like this like white patriarchal like thing,
Right. And it's just like, and I think I think you actually put it perfectly. It's just that people's opinion of comic books is stuck in time. And I think that time is the late 50s during Frederick Wortham's heyday.
Like part of that too, though, is like having like a stagnant opinion on comic books is that people that aren't in the comic book community or aren't comic book readers are getting fed certain like perspectives on it that are very stagnant, that like you talked about with Troy, you hate Big Bang Theory because of the way they portray like, the comic book community, but that's one of like that's a big piece of exposure that people have to the comic book community, and that's kind of feeding that same notion, and it's all keeping it in the same place.
And actually I think you have a great point there, which is that it's how these ideas are fed into the greater public, right? And I think that part of that is, look, all the high and mighty people want to like prop up Watchmen. I own Watchmen. I own Absolute Watchmen. Like I actually own the movie because I think the movie's cool too. Like, you know what I mean? But I think there's people that think that like, oh, comic books, like, the perspective of superheroes that came from Watchmen is how all superhero books really are, and that's what and that's what Alan Moore was saying, which I don't think that's what Alan Moore was saying. And I also think that like, if you watch certain superhero movies, if you watch a lot of superhero movies, I'd say previous to 2008, you might also carry that logic, which is like, they're all fascist killers who beat up on criminals, and it's like, well, that's in the movies, so maybe that's a problem with Hollywood, but that's not a problem with comic books. You know what I mean?
It's the kind of people that say my favorite comic book is Avengers 2 Rise of Ultron or whatever.
Right.
Like
Exactly.
their favorite comic is one of the movies, and it's like, well, then obviously you're not hip to all the like deepness that all these characters have been through.
Right. And like, of course I'm talking about indie books as well, but that also extends to like, superheroes, of course, because like you said, you've gotten so many great writers who come in and just kind of reworked these characters and recontextualize them for a new generation. So anyway, Ashton, what's up with this week's poll? What's going on over at Halloween Comic Fest?
All right, so I asked you guys this week to tell me which sickeningly sweet character is more menacing between Ice Cream Man and Candy Man.
I actually love this.
I was super into this. I like thought about this one for a while, and I was like, I kind of wanted to do Ice Cream Man. I was like, I'm going to make this a theme, like, because candy, Halloween.
All right, absolutely. Okay, so let's go around the table here. Ashton, where do you side on this?
I like Ice Cream Man just because I think there's something menacing is probably the most apt word there about like a looming specter that isn't directly involved in mayhem, but is like still the root cause of it. Candyman's pretty in there when it comes to causing mayhem. So I like the indirectness of Ice Cream Man.
Okay. All right. I like that. Also, I think there's low key that pedo thing with ice cream truck drivers, right? Like that's like that's a stigma, right?
Yeah.
It is. It's a thing.
I'm just saying. What about you,
I don't know
Eli?
that we needed to go that far, but
we probably didn't. You're probably right. As soon as I said it, I was like, man, I hope this lands. If it doesn't land, I'm just going to walk away from it. What about you, Eli? Where do you fall in the ice cream man versus candy man debate?
I got to go Candyman. Tony
Okay.
Todd, as
Yeah.
far as being like, and just that scene of the bees coming out of his mouth. And it's just
Yeah.
like, that freaked me out forever. Bees are scary among themselves. Like,
Right.
I mean, and just coming out of your mouth, then you got to think, Tony Todd filming this, was he really doing all that? Like,
Right.
there's all these levels.
Right.
Like, oh my God, got to go Candyman.
All right. Well, I mean, you're the decider here, so you're saying Candyman, right? So let's go ahead and see what the vote is this week.
All right.
Oh,
Oh no.
38.7. Wow. I would have given it to Candyman. I felt like he was more of a popular choice, but apparently, I mean, we are talking about the comic book horror audience here on Halloween Comic Fest, so that does make sense.
You know what
So-
else happened though is like someone had tagged Martine and one of the other creators, and I think it got in front of their audience and they kind of pushed it around.
You know, that happened before. I did a poll of, it was like Suicide Squad versus the Savage Avengers, and I think it was like Patrick Zurcher or something like that, who was the artist at the time, was like just retweeted and it just started trolling the poll. But you know what? That counts too. Hey, why not? So I guess we're gonna give it to Ice Cream Man. Why the heck not? So actually, real quick, I want to do a shout out for Baltimore Comic Con before we close things out. They're doing a virtual event this weekend, and also on top of that, there's also the Ringo Awards this weekend as well. And so those two events are married together. You actually might see my face popping up on their feed, or because I'll be doing some Ringo Award interviews. I think I've already submitted Ezra Clayton Daniels. So definitely check that out to see what Baltimore Comic Con has to offer. And why am I telling you this? Because they're in our backyard. This is our people.
It's true.
You know what I mean? So definitely give Mark Nathan and his crew some love this weekend, and also the crew at Mainframe Comic Con, because they're going to be doing a lot of the virtual stuff there too. So definitely give it a shot. Definitely check that out. On top of that, before I say goodbye, sorry, make sure I'm looking at my notes correctly. Ashton, what is this week's comic shop shout out?
Oh, that's right. Even I forgot about it. Whoopsie. This week's comic shop shout out goes to Stormwatch Comics in Berlin, New Jersey.
All right.
And if you want to have us spotlight your shop, find us on social media, tag your shop if they have a handle, and also use #SupportYourLCS. We will find them, we will plug them, because we love all comic book shops.
Yes, we do. And who knew there was a Berlin, New Jersey? I had no idea.
Right. Not me.
Not I. Eli, before we kick off here, like, you want to do a little shout out, give yourself a little shout out, tell people where they can find you, all that jazz?
Totally. Yeah, there's 3 covers of Wizard. If you're interested, we got the gold, shiny, glossy cover. We got the
Envious.
3D cover that comes with sketched 3D glasses that I'll sketch for you, and the normal Wizard cover.
Okay.
You can go to CosmicLionProductions.com for all of your cartoonist kayfabe Wizard needs. Yeah, there's the website. Yeah. My Ninja Turtle zine is completely sold out. The Ween zine is completely sold out, but you can go to theweenzine.com for all 5 issues are free in e-zine version. I'm also on 3 podcasts. I do a Grendel reread podcast there in the middle called The Devil in Detail.
Oh, nice.
I have a podcast with hip hop MC Manis at Jan Michael Vintage. He's also a vintage t-shirt dude. And he's an amazing rapper. I can say he's releasing a new song every day this month. So you can check him out, Manis, on Spotify. And then I also have my Cosmic Lion Radio that I've been doing almost 10 years now.
Oh, wow.
And that features interviews with the likes of Mike Allred, Matt Wagner, Kevin Eastman. And I'm a huge into music too. So I've got like this dude who did sound for Bootsy Collins and Frank Zappa in the 70s. I've got Frank Lisiandro, who was on the film crew for The Doors live at the Hollywood Bowl and went to film school with Jim Morrison. And Hunter Thompson's road manager, Wayne Ewing. So a ton of different people like that. Cosmic Lion Radio, it's on Apple Podcasts and everything. So it's all there at CosmicLionProductions.com. And check out Cartoonist Kayfabe Ringside Seats, the group for the Cartoonist Kayfabe peeps up on Facebook.
There you go. And do us a favor. Don't come in here and be a troll. Like, let's just have fun, guys. All right.
The only troll that is allowed is the 1980s Kamiko book Troll Lords.
There you go.
Love that.
So, Hey guys, thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to remind you one last time. Actually, probably won't be the last time, but the panel, A Walk Through Hell, is next week. That is October 30th. Anna Mia is going to be hosting. We're going to have Ruth Ann Thompson from Aftershock Comics. I'm going to be on there, and we're going to have a fourth guest that's actually going to join us as well. We're going to talk about this Garth Ennis book and why it's unsettling, and see if you can read a book with your eyes closed, because it's just that horrifying. Also, this Friday, Rick Remender is going to be joining us, and he's going to hang out with us, and then we're going to talk about his new book, The Scumbag. And I'm going to work in questions about Uncanny X-Force. I know somehow, some way, I'm going to make it happen. But we're also asking you guys, hey, to give us your answers as well, your questions as well for Rick Remender. So you might see a prompt floating around our feed on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, saying, hey, what do you want to ask Rick Remender? Take us up on that. Jump in there, ask us a question. We'll use it on the show for sure. And that's it for Previews World Weekly. Eli, thanks again for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me so much, guys. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Ashton,
much love. Ashton,
I'll see you next week, of course.
Yeah.
And I've been one of your hosts. I don't know why I stepped on your line, but I've been one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen, and
I'm your other host, Ashton Greenwood.
Okay. And we will see you guys at the Spinner Rack. Catch you later.
Don't forget that you can catch Previews World Weekly streaming live every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific at Previews World on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.